The musket in question. In the 1800s, during the Napoleonic Wars, the British infantry used a Brown Bess musket, which had an effective range of 50 to 100 yards and could be fired as quickly as 4-5 shots per minute by a skilled soldier. Shooting at a rate of 5 bullets per minute was highly impressive, very dirty, and tiresome work. It would have taken someone with a lot of experience, discipline, and skill. Not everyone could fire that quickly, and certainly with reduced accuracy. Formations. The formations depend on the group in command. Different nationalities trained their soldiers in different manners. The stereotypical huge masses of men in dressed columns was the manner that the French used. It allowed conscripted soldiers to hold ranks with a lower chance of breaking and running. It wasn't as effective as the British line because deeper ranks couldn't fire, and had to wait to move forward. The British used lines. They would have groups spread further apart, and fought in a line formation. It allowed more room for maneuvering, loading, a greater mass of firepower, and increased accuracy as soldiers were able to aim at large masses of French troops. Soldiers would fight in different formations depending upon the enemies they faced. If they met infantry, they'd fight in lines. If artillery were present, they would spread into looser ranks so as not to take heavier losses. If cavalry were present, they would fight in squares, but it took time to form up into squares. If caught by surprise, they were in trouble. If anyone broke and ran, they'd die and the entire group could be slaughtered. If cavalry and artillery were present, they would sit in a square, endure, and hold ranks. Cavalry can move much quicker and cut them down much faster. Infantry classifications. The infantry had several different units in the Napoleonic Wars. Riflemen were the highly skilled group that used a Baker rifle. They wore green uniforms, had different duties, and were usually attached in a different manner than British regulars. If the Napoleonic Wars had special forces, they would have been one of the groups. Engineers would be another, but they operated in several capacities. Grenadiers were another group, focused primarily on assault of a fortified position. Light infantry were different than line infantry. They were also known as skirmishers and fought in pairs. Their jobs would be to harass and harry advancing troops with disperse, well-aimed fire. They would move and shoot. Riflemen and light infantry were not the same classification, but they fought in similar capacities. Most riflemen had been skilled marksmen from other infantry units. Line infantry. As I said earlier, the British fought in a line to concentrate as much firepower as possible. The range of muskets was short and highly inaccurate. People marched in large groups in order to turn an otherwise unideal, dirty, loud and noisy musket into a potent killing weapon. After the first volley of musket balls, the smoke would completely obscure your vision. It was hard to know where anyone was, so staying in ranks and firing in a general location was the best bet when attacking. A musket produces a lot more smoke, ash, powder residue, and noise than modern rifles, depending on the situation. Add the presence of artillery going off near you, and the presence of cavalry, and you'll understand why the simple rank and file system worked effectively. It actually kept them safer, and made them more effective fighting units overall. Ranks were used because they were effective. It was a very good idea because of the inherent flaws of muskets, the safety and shelter of a group, and the ability to impact a battlefield in a greater manner. As the Baker rifle and new innovations, mini balls, came into use, tactics began to shift. Standing in ranks and fighting was simply an evolutionary standpoint that made sense with the technology, training, and combat techniques that they had during the time.